Hi, this is Joseph with Conscious Collective, and in this video we're going to talk about spiritual awakening and what does it mean to awaken. So this term, awakening, spiritual awakening, waking up, is commonly used in various forms of spirituality and different spiritual traditions, both Eastern, more ancient philosophical traditions like Buddhism, yoga, Hinduism, as well as in more modern, New Age forms of spirituality. And many people have different ideas, different perceptions, and misconceptions about what awakening is. And so in this video, I want to clarify the fundamental truth of what spiritual awakening means. So no matter how we look at it, spiritual awakening is about increasing our awareness. We are waking up from something and we're waking up to something else. And there are typically two primary perspectives here about what it is we're waking up from and what we're waking up to. And these are really just two different ways of saying the same thing. So the first perspective, we are waking up from the mind. We're waking up from thought, the dream of the mind, and we're waking up to reality as it is. And this perspective is very common in various forms of Buddhism, and they point out something very important, something that most people are unaware of. And this is the fact that most of us are living in a dream of thought. We are not aware of reality as it actually is, but are experiencing the world of our own projections, our own fears, anxieties, thoughts, plans, you name it. Whatever mental activity, it creates this world of thought, this dream of the mind, and this keeps us unaware of the actual truth of what is happening in the present moment. And so many of us are disconnected from reality in the present moment because we are preoccupied with our thoughts. And our thoughts not only keep us preoccupied from reality, but our thoughts often cause us a lot of suffering. Now, we think something is a certain way. We think that this is good or bad. We think that we are not good enough or unsuccessful, or we think this thing's not possible. And we have all of these thoughts, all of these stories about what is, and yet so many of us aren't actually awake to the actual reality of what is. And if you do wake up to reality, or you simply pay more attention to the actual present moment experience that you're having, you find that none of those thoughts, none of those fears or worries have any real value here. No, they're only existing in your mind. And so it can be this profound thing that really does feel like one's waking up from a dream when they start to discover the reality of the present moment. And that in this present moment, there is peace, there is joy, there is calmness, there is so much beauty and so much happiness to be found when we allow ourselves to just be present. And yet this is so difficult for so many of us. We're so disturbed by our minds. We're so caught in our thoughts, and constantly our minds are drifting off into the future, into our plans, our goals, our fears, our worries, or they're drifting off into the past, into our regrets, our guilt, our shame, things we wish were different. Or even in the present moment, we start to project all of our expectations and our ideas and stories, and all of this mental activity keeps us in the dream of the mind. And so waking up, in this sense, is waking up from that dream of thought, recognizing that it is not reality, and then waking up to what is real, what is actually real here and now in this present moment. Now, what are you experiencing through your senses? What are you hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, seeing? Can you experience what's happening here without interpreting it mentally, without projecting your judgments onto it? And so this practice of paying attention to the present moment and simply being aware of what is here and now, this practice is known as mindfulness in Buddhism, and also in modern forms of spirituality that have sort of taken on this terminology of mindfulness. It's rooted in Buddhism. It's a Buddhist practice of just paying attention to what is here. And in Buddhism, they have a teaching called the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And these are the 4 things that help us to really establish mindfulness of the present moment and not to drift back into the dream of the mind. And these are the body, our feelings, the mind, and the phenomena that we experience in the world. And so through different practices, through different techniques, we can learn how to use these foundations as pillars to support our mindfulness practice, to support us in actually being awake and staying awake to reality. So I created a course called the 4 Foundations of Mindfulness that is based on this ancient Buddhist practice. If you're interested in learning about this practice and how you can develop your own mindfulness practice, I put a link in the description below this video where you can find the course and find more information about it. Now, this other perspective of awakening is about waking up from misconceptions that we have about ourselves and waking up to the truth of who we are. So most of us have a story about ourselves. We think that we are so-and-so from such and such place, and we have these interests, and this is what we do, and all of these things create some kind of narrative about our identity. And we actually have many things that we identify with. We identify with beliefs about our political beliefs, our religious beliefs. We identify with our roles in society. We identify with our names, with our personalities, with our bodies, and many different things we use to form an idea of who we are. A sort of a self-image, or an ego as it's commonly referred to. Though that word also has many different definitions that we won't unpack here. But this idea of having a self-image, an idea of self, keeps us blind to the truth of who we are. And many people suffer from their ideas, their stories that they have about themselves, or their beliefs that they have about themselves. People really believe that they are their job or their role in society. People really believe that they are a Republican or a Democrat or a Christian or a Buddhist or whatever it is. We can form a belief about our identity, and in doing so, we start to filter things through this belief, and we are unaware of who we essentially are. And so, according to this other perspective of awakening, what spiritual awakening is about waking up to the truth of who you are. It's about freeing your mind, freeing yourself from being caught up in all of these different layers of identity. And most of the things that we identify with have been conditioned. We have conditioned beliefs about our identity that we simply don't really question. They're unconscious beliefs and unquestioned assumptions about ourselves. But if we really start to inquire inward and ask ourselves, who am I? What is the fundamental truth of my being? And if we are willing and we are honest enough with ourselves to really follow that journey, we can discover the fundamental truth of who we are, and we can wake up from many false stories and narratives about ourselves. But this is very difficult because people find a sense of safety, they find a sense of security and belonging in their beliefs about their identity. Now, if someone strongly identifies with their political stance, for example, and they really feel that they are a Democrat or Republican or whatever political party they feel they are, if someone starts to challenge those beliefs, it may make someone feel threatened. It may feel like a personal attack. They may start to feel defensive and push away that information and cling to this idea of who they think they are because they find some safety and some belonging with that group of people that they identify with. And so it's a very challenging and yet very liberating thing to do, is to start to inquire into who we are, to discover the actual truth of our being. And I recently just created another course called Waking Up to Who You Are that explores this topic in detail. So if you're curious about waking up to who you are, then you can also find the link to that course in the description below this video. But these are the two sort of primary perspectives about awakening, is that we are either waking up from the mind and waking up to the actual truth of what is, or we are waking up from our ego, from our misconception of ourselves, to the truth of who we are. And while these seem to be like two different things, they're really talking about the same thing. As I started this video off, I said that fundamental to spiritual awakening is this increase in awareness. And we're waking up from something, and we're waking up to something else. And in both cases, we are waking up from the dream of the mind, because all of these things that we identify with are also just things in the mind. They're thoughts and stories and judgments that we have about ourselves. And so however we look at it, the fact is, and what all of these different spiritual traditions are pointing to, is that most of us are ignorant of the truth of reality, and therefore the truth of ourselves, and we are living in the dream of the mind. So we are caught in our thoughts, our stories, our beliefs, our judgments, our fears, our anxieties, our grievances, and all of these things sort of keep us living in this mind-created reality. And that reality causes us to suffer immensely because it is not in harmony with the truth of how things actually are. But if we start to wake up from the dream of the mind and we start to pay more attention to our immediate experience in the moment, and also inquire into who is it that is paying attention in this moment? What is aware of this present moment experience? And we start to wake up to this deeper awareness. It's incredibly liberating, and it's also kind of the same thing. If I'm being more aware of the present moment and I'm waking up to this awareness that is aware of the present moment, only thought is what distinguishes these two. So to be here and now in the present moment, you have to be aware. And so you are waking up to this awareness as you wake up to the present moment. And as you wake up to the present moment, you wake up to this awareness. I think Eckhart Tolle had a quote, I may not be able to remember word for word, but he said, the present moment and consciousness are inseparable. Life is always happening now. Now is an experience happening in consciousness. Consciousness is who you are. That is the equation. And so spiritual awakening is really about waking up to the truth. It's about waking up to the truth of reality, waking up to the truth of who you are, and waking up from the dream of the mind and all of the illusory projections of the mind that keep us ignorant of reality and that cause us to suffer unnecessarily. And we really can be free of our suffering when we wake up to the truth of what is. And this is why spiritual awakening is such a powerful thing, and why it's been practiced for thousands of years around the world, is because humans continue to realize that their suffering is being produced by their minds, and that there is a reality that is far more profound, far deeper than this illusory reality of the mind. And so when we wake up to this deeper reality, we're waking up to the truth of life. We're waking up to spirit, to God, if you will. Though I know that word is loaded. We are waking up to the fundamental unity of life. So it's a very beautiful, very profound thing, and obviously it's something that there's a lot of depth to. So it's not something that I can cover in great detail in this video, but if you're curious about this process of spiritual awakening, both of waking up to the truth of the present moment or to the truth of who you are, then check out the courses that I created in the description below this video, because they're designed to cover these topics in detail and to help you wake up. And that's what this whole channel is really about, is to help you wake up. And so please let me know in the comments if you found this video helpful, and like, subscribe if you want to see more of this content, and let me know if you have any specific questions, anything that I can make a video on to address. That's really helpful for me because I want this channel to be something that can help you on your journey. So please let me know how I can assist you on this inner journey of awakening. And thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it's helped you on your journey, and I wish you nothing but peace, love, happiness, and freedom.